Welcome to the fourth part of my series of tutorials on curved English paper piecing. This time I'm going to show you how to hand quilt your cushion panel using big stitch quilting. So it's up to you how you hand quilt your cushion cover. You could just go around the outside and around the inside just to stabilise the quilt, and that should be fine. Or you could do a couple double lines echoing around the outside, or you could do some cross hatches or vertical lines. I'm going to echo stitch, or echo quilt rather, big stitches around all the insides of each of my shapes, and then I'm going to go around the inside and then around the outside, and I might do a motif in the middle. So let's get started. So I'm going to use two coloured threads, a white one to go around the black and the red fabrics, and then a red one to go around my cream to echo the red in the fabric. And these are just anchor embroidery threads, and I'm going to split them into 3 strands. So there's 6 in these, so you just split them in half into 3 strands. And then I'm going to use embroidery needle, which is just got a big eye, thankfully. But it's a John James embroidery needle, probably a size 6, I think. But just have a practice, see what's right for you. So I split this first length into 3 strands, as you can see. So I'm just going to put a knot in the end like we did before. Okay, you don't really need a hoop to do this sort of quilting. It's a small project, so I tend to, you need to come up from the back, so I tend to put my finger where I want to start and my thumb, and then go, you want to start there, but bring your needle through a little way off. Oops. Which means you can pull your knot through the backing fabric. Just give it a bit of a tug. Don't worry if it gathers, that's just the butter muslin, but it's buried itself in the wadding. So then you just do a stitch or 2 just to secure the thread, and then bring it up where you want to start. So I'll start in this petal shape. So bring it up, and then you're relatively tidy on the back. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, because it's going to be the inside of the cushion. So then you're going to do a smallish stitch. It's not going to be huge. I do find a thimble comes in very handy. That's just my thimble that I cannot live without. Okay, so about 1/4 of an inch, I'd say, stitches. To be honest, the size doesn't matter. What matters is that they're all the same size. So I tend to do 2 stitches at the most at a time. When you get to the end of your first shape, just take your needle through to the back and then bring it up into the next shape for you to carry on. So I've quilted with the white thread all around the inside of each of the shapes, so now I'm going to use this red thread to go around the outside and then around the middle. So we'll start in the middle first. So as before, just put your finger and your thumb where you want to start. Bring your thread up a little way off from where you want to start, pull the knot through, so you can see more what happens there with the red thread. It goes into the wadding. So a stitch to secure and bring it up where you want to start. So that's miles away from where I want to start, so there. Okay. As before, we're just going to do small running stitch all the way around the inner circle. Just to show you how to finish off the thread at the back, when you've done all your sewing, wrap your thread around your needle again like we did before, pull the knot through, and then hold your fingers as close to the fabric as possible so your knot is near enough to the fabric, and then again bury that knot into the wadding. So we're just going to, not going through to the front, but just take it along, pull, and your knot will come through the wadding and bury itself, and it'll be disappeared, and then you can cut your thread off. So for the centre motif, I've cut out a template which is a smaller version of the outline of the flower, and I've cut it out of paper, normal paper, and pinned it to the centre. I folded the template in half both ways and lined those up with my crease marks on my background fabric, and then I'm just going to sew a running stitch all the way around the edge. If you find it difficult to do it with paper and pins, you could use freezer paper and just iron it down into place, and it will stay in place while you do your sewing, and then you can peel it off afterwards. So as before, bring up your needle, bring up your thread where you want to start, pull the knot through, okay, so we're going to start at the edge of the paper. You could obviously use markers, fabric markers, to just draw the shape around. I prefer not to use markers if I can. So as before, just a running stitch. You might want to do one stitch at a time here so you can see what you're doing. Take off your paper and you've got a nice flower in the centre. So now I'm going to stitch with the red thread around the edge of the flower, probably 2 or 3 rows to give it a nice border. So once you've finished quilting your cushion panel, we're going to trim it down to 18.5 inches square. So if you have a square template like this, ruler template, that's brilliant. So to do this way, half of 18.5 is 9.25, so you're going to line up the 9.25 mark on the ruler with the centre mark of the flower. So this one's quite easy because you've got centre marks there and there. So we're going to line up the 9.25 line here, and then you can see that it goes down to there, and then your horizontal marks are going to line up here and here. So now you know it's square. Okay, so then we're going to do the first cut down here, and then we'll move it down, and again we'll line up the 9.25 inch mark here. Make sure your horizontals are straight. Like so. And cut. So that's your first cut. So then we're going to turn it the other way around. Turn it once round and then again. So now we've got a straight edge. We can use that on the ruler. And again, line up the 9.25 inch ruler mark on your flower points and your horizontals across the middle. same on the other two sides. And again, although this time it's a little different because you can use these marks. So if you've then got a larger ruler, a longer ruler, you would now, rather than lining it up on the middle of the flower, you would line up your 18.5 inch line there, and then cut down here. So keep going, moving down, 18.5, 18.5, and then you do it the other way around, so you end up with a nice 18.5 inch square. So when you come to trim your square, if you've only got a normal quilter's ruler like this one's 8.5, but I know a lot have got a 6.5 width. You're not going to obviously be able to do it that way because your ruler's not 9.25 inches wide. So what you're going to have to do, or what I do, is take your ruler and go down the centre, so you're lining up your centre points, and put a few pins in just as registration marks down that centre line, like so, and then turn your ruler that way, and you're going to line the pin marks up with the 9.25 inch. Okay, so you've still got your horizontal lines that you can mark up with your points there, but you're also going to mark your 9.25 with your ruler, with your pins, sorry, and then cut down there. So you keep going, moving along, and then you turn it round to put pins in that way. So you turn it 90 degrees, put pins down the centre again, and take your ruler and measure 9.25, measure, line up your pin marks and your horizontals and cut. And then the other way, obviously it's like before, 18.5 inches across, cut and go all the way down, and you'll end up with your 18.5 inch trimmed cushion panel. To find out how to finish off your cushion with a zippered back, click on the link below to take you to my blog post. This cushion is now available as a kit in the Sewmotion shop. In each kit you'll get all the fabric you need for the cushion front, including the binding, plus template plastic, embroidery thread, templates and full instructions. There are currently two versions of the cushion, this red rose and one in the lovely blues in Liberty prints. See the link below to go to the Sewmotion shop.